So a return to normal as we knew it is not on the cards in the near future, and it is really important that I am upfront with you right now about that. What we will be seeking to do is find a new normal.
Get out of the lockdown and return to what will, by the way, be a new normal. It's not going to be the normal we experienced before the virus took hold.
Can I say this is likely to be the new norm?
We will be having to live in a new normal, as we were trying to say, with this virus.
We're entering a new phase where such a reality is, quote, a new normal.
Think that this is going to be going back to normal in July? Think again.
This will be the new normal.
To make sure that we can do everything we can to flatten the curve so that we can return not to the old normal, but to a new normal that allows us to function more and more openly as a society.
Can continue to improve how we work and play in this new normal. All of us.
Americans are facing a new normal.
It is a new normal that we all have to get used to.
So we're going to a different place, which is a new normal.
There will be no return to the old normal.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged. The next stage is destabilizations: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis.
When you were talking about the phases, the semi-normal phase that you spoke of, that sounded like months and months of that. If a vaccine is still not until 2021, that's many, many months of this new normal.
Work on the vaccines, but the vaccines have to be down the road by probably 14, 15, 16 months. We're doing great on the vaccines. I think Johnson & Johnson is leading, seems to be leading in terms of the studies.
Also March 2017 in the White House. In both of those 2 meetings, he asked me if vaccines weren't a bad thing, because he was considering a commission to look into ill effects of vaccines. Because he was considering a commission to look into ill effects of vaccines. And somebody, his name is Robert Kennedy Jr., was advising him that vaccines were causing bad things. And I said, no, that's a dead end. That would be a bad thing. Don't do that. Vaccines were causing bad things. And I said, no, that's a dead end. That would be a bad thing. Don't do that.
A new normal that will hopefully allow America to reopen.
And looking forward into this next phase of reopening and establishing some kind of new normal.
Embrace the new normals of social distancing and sheltering in place.
Possibly going to be the new normal that we see down the road.
I'm the first person in the United States to receive the experimental coronavirus vaccine.
I was the second person to enter into a COVID-19 trial vaccination.
Eventually, what we'll have to have is certificates of who's a recovered person, who's a vaccinated person, because you don't want people moving around the world where you'll have some countries that won't have it under control. Sadly, you don't want to completely block off the ability for those, people to go there and come back and move around. So eventually there will be sort of this digital immunity proof that will help facilitate the global reopening up.
You may keep your secrets from your friends, from your parents,
your children. But it takes real effort to conceal your thoughts from Google. And if that is true today, in future, there may be nowhere to hide.
Because this is going to be transformative. It is going to be transformative on a personal basis, on a social basis, on a systems basis. When do we get back to normal? I don't think we get back to normal. I think we get back, or we get to a new normal.
It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation.
We keep talking about this is the new normal. I'm just curious, when can we expect life to go back to the true normal? You know, when is this expected to peak? Do you guys have some sort of timeline or estimate in mind? Or?
So, as I have repeatedly said, this is our new normal.
In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged. It may last indefinitely.
You've invested $10 billion in vaccinations over the last 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that, and it kind of stunned me. Can you walk us through the math?
I feel there's been over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
I think the numbers that you ran through were, if you had put that money into an S&P 500 and reinvested the dividends, you'd come up with something like $17 billion, but you think it's $200 billion.
It's $200 billion.